Hello, hello, hello. We're here live today talking about Jupiter entering Gemini. So, hello, beautiful souls. If you are jumping on the live, then let me know you are here. And welcome to today's video. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about the meaning of Jupiter entering Gemini. This is happening May 25th, and Jupiter stays in Gemini for over a year. It will be there until June 9th of 2025. So today's video is giving us a look at what is possible, what kind of growth or expansion we may see when Jupiter enters Gemini on the 25th of May, and we're going to go through what it means for each sign of the zodiac. Welcome back to everyone joining us again, and welcome on to anyone who is new. We're going to go through the meaning of Jupiter in Gemini. And for anyone who's new to the channel, on this channel, we try to give you the most optimistic look of the astrology without the toxic positivity, right? So I'm not going to gas you up if things are looking challenging, but we're always going to try to find the highest potential with whatever we got going on. A couple of announcements before we get into the breakdown for each sign. The first announcement is readings are open. So if you have been wanting to book with me, there is a link in the description. You can get in with me now. Readings for May are open. The second announcement is I will be running some kind of course on the nodes. I'm going to do a course on the North Node going over things like the conjunctions to the nodes, what it means if you have planets with your North or your South node, whether you have a skip step or not, and just a course where I can go in depth on everything I can tell you about the North and South node. So just know that is coming up, and if you want to join, be sure to watch the channel, or you can get on my email list. If you get on the email list, you will be the first to know when the course comes out, and so that's the benefit, because I expect to be doing some kind of like an early bird discount of some kind, so make sure you're watching out for that. All right. What else do I have to announce? There are a couple of videos on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which happened on April 20th. And I want you guys to know that this is going to be activated this week. That is because on the 7th of May, we have a new moon in Taurus, which means the moon will meet up with that conjunction for the first time since it happened. So remember that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction might show up very differently for everyone, because Jupiter and Uranus rule different houses in everyone's chart, and we all got different planets in different places, right? So to keep it simple, think of what was happening on the 20th or around the 20th that was kind of sudden or unexpected in any area of your life. Stay tuned for a little bit more or a little bit going on related to that this week, and just see what happens. And if you want more on that, now would be a great time to go back and watch that Jupiter-Uranus video, because the themes that were highlighted at that time are probably going to be more likely to show up in some way in your life during this week. So that is another thing you should know. All right, so today we're talking about the ingress of Jupiter into Gemini. Jupiter, I love following Jupiter transits because Jupiter takes about a year to go through a sign. So it's long enough that it really kind of has some meaning for our lives of what area is going to grow during that year period. So I love that Jupiter kind of gives us a year period to look at of what's going to happen or what energies are going to be at play. And one of the things, though, that I've noticed in astrology is the tendency to overhype Jupiter, or to think, and I made this mistake when I was new, I thought everything Jupiter was going to be massive. I thought everything Jupiter was going to be amazing. And I don't mean to bring anyone down, But Jupiter transits can only bring out the natal promise in your chart. So if your natal promise is regular, just like mine, something regular good will happen. You know what I mean? It's not like everyone gets famous when Jupiter hits their 10th house, right? We're not all designed for that. But whatever growth means for us, that's the kind of thing we're likely to see at that time. And sometimes when you know what house Jupiter is going to bring growth and expansion, then you can sort of consciously expand that area with it and kind of work with that energy. And you can also kind of plan. It's almost like planning for the weather, you know, a little bit, where you can plan for growth in that area so you can work with it to feed it more if that is what you would like. Now, another thing to remember is that not all growth is good growth. So sometimes Jupiter will expand things we don't necessarily want it to expand. And I just realized I need to check my volume really quick and make sure it is good. So give me 1 second here to do that. And then we'll get into like the broadcast, we'll get into everything. It's not sounding quite how I want it to. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is I want to talk about Jupiter and Gemini and the essential dignity of Jupiter and Gemini. So let me know in a comment in the chat if you know what essential dignity is, or if you've heard of some planets not doing well in certain signs. So Jupiter is in detriment it's in detriment in Gemini, which is not a good thing. Basically, it means the planet is weak. And there's a couple of like good essential dignities, and there's a couple of like challenging essential dignities. So I want to talk about what that means, because a lot of people will hear that like, oh, Jupiter doesn't do well in Gemini. And if they have Jupiter in Gemini, then they think, oh, that means I suck, or that means something bad about me. It doesn't mean something negative about you. What it means is that when you're trying to do Jupiter stuff, it's harder. And let's talk about why Jupiter and Gemini is hard to do Jupiter stuff. Jupiter stuff is like studying in depth into things, getting into the philosophy and the deeper wisdom, getting into the deep reason why. It's bigness, right? It's big plans. It's, Sagittarius is ruled by the archer that wants to shoot the arrow far, far away. So Jupiter wants to have that grand vision. It wants to have that bird's eye approach. Gemini is not like that. Gemini wants to tend to all the little details. It's ruled by Mercury. So this is why Jupiter doesn't do as well in Gemini, because it doesn't mean it can't do things. It can't do Jupiter things very well, but it can do Gemini things. The only thing is that when a planet has to do things it doesn't like to do, what ends up happening is those things don't get done as well, right? So Jupiter doesn't want to focus on the details. So in Gemini, what does it mean when Jupiter's in Gemini? Well, maybe you have to focus on details and you don't like to. Or maybe you're really good at focusing on the details, but you get distracted really easy and can't stick with something. So the potential challenge that I see for all of us when Jupiter's in Gemini is that we could get spread too thin in the house where Jupiter lands. So that would be the one thing to watch out for, is not just to say yes to everything during Jupiter and Gemini. I would say being more discerning of the projects or the activities that we want to do, because there's more of a tendency to take on 27 different projects and only make an inch of progress in each one. Where if you just took on one thing, you could make 3 feet of progress. That's not a perfect analogy, but you get what I mean. You can't really dive deep into something if you're doing 50 million other things at the same time. But also, wherever Jupiter is, we tend to feel better when we're doing that thing. So when Jupiter's in Gemini, we might be happier when we're multitasking. We might be focusing on money because Gemini rules money, it rules commerce, it rules coinage. It can be, us focusing on selling. We could be focusing on speaking or learning, with Jupiter and Gemini, it's less about speaking, more about like learning the parts of speech kind of a thing. Learning what makes a good speech, learning all the details of it. And so that is what I have for just the overall general kind of themes we might see. I mean, in general, Gemini stuff might be more of a focus. We might see more focus on topics of learning or language or, like I said, commerce, business. Mercury rules trade. It rules speaking and listening, but it also rules like the detailed facts related to those topics, not the deeper, meaningful reason why. Okay, so that all being said, what we're going to do is go through the different signs and what Jupiter and Gemini could possibly bring for each sign of the zodiac. So to do this, I need to get my timer up. How's everyone feeling with the energy and like coming into this new moon and, having that conjunction last month? How's everyone doing with the energies? Oh, psh. Okay. I think I fixed it now. Thank you so much to everyone who just told me that there was no sound. Okay, we're good. We are good to go. What was I saying? I was talking about Jupiter and Gemini. I was talking about how it doesn't mean that planet's useless when it's in a poorly placed sign. It just means the planet doesn't get to do what it wants as well. And in the world, Jupiter, I love Jupiter because it goes through a sign a year. And so it's a nice, roughly 1 year. It's a nice little measurement of time for us to see where we have the potential of growth in our lives. And I think I just said earlier that the only time that might not work is if you don't want that area to grow. Not all growth is equal in the sense, when it's your waistline, that's not as ideal, usually. Okay, so that all being said, let's go ahead and jump into the signs now. Actually, I wanna check on the comments. I want to say hi to everyone, and then I want to go into the signs. Francisca's here. Welcome. Kathy's here. Hey, Kathy. Nice to see you. Soul Trip is here, and Tariq is here, and Josh is here from Georgia. Hello to everyone from Vegas. It is so freaking windy today. Like, I have to it's bad. It's bad, but it gets like that here sometimes. So around here, though, we just have to be grateful whenever it's not too hot. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go into the signs, Jupiter through the signs. We're going to start with Aries, and we're going to go through Pisces, and we're going to talk about what it means. And we are also, keep in mind that this is going to start on the 25th, and it's going to go through let me see, I had it written down somewhere, June of 2025. So here we go. Here we go with Aries. Okay, for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Jupiter is going to be in that third house, bringing growth and expansion to communication, learning, studying. Now, for some, it might have something to do with your siblings if you have siblings. Sometimes the planets that transit are not always you, that sometimes they describe the people in your life. So Jupiter entering Gemini is going to be possibly some people's siblings will have growth in their life. So perhaps a sibling could have a baby or grow their family or get a new car or anything, right? It could be that. It could also be that your relationship with your sibling or siblings grows at this time, or cousins or aunts and uncles, because those are also ruled by the third house. But either way, we have growth in that third house. Now, it being in Gemini makes me feel like you might have more curiosity at this time. And also, when I think of the ninth and third house axis, I think of communicating what you know. For you, Jupiter rules that ninth house of your knowledge, and it's going into that third house of communication, like back and forth. So what I think is possible, some Aries will be working on communicating what you know at this time. And we're looking at, just so everyone knows, we have our chart on the 26th, so we can get all the signs in. Jupiter does enter Gemini on the 25th. So overall, for the next year, we're going to see growth and expansion to what you know or how you communicate what you know, or learning, speaking, listening, communicating in any way, whether it be speaking or in writing. Now, on this day around the 26th, what I'm feeling for Aries is maybe you're going to have some nice, lovely conversations, because not only do we have Jupiter, we have Venus and we have the Sun. Now, Venus for Aries is going to rule your money. So I would say, as Venus gets closer to the Sun, actually, I don't know when that gets exact, and I don't want to mess up the beautiful chart. You may find that there's challenges related to finances around the 26th, because what happens is when Venus is this close to the Sun burns it out. And Venus is your money. That doesn't mean you're going to lose money. It's going to be bad. Maybe you buy something. Maybe you have to put money into your car and your money gets kind of burned up. I almost get the image of like, you put gas in your car and then it leaks out and you have to just put more gas in it, kind of a thing. That's not going to be every Aries. Do not think of that as like a prediction that bad things will happen to your car. But this might be a time where you just need to invest in it getting fixed. You also have the ruler of long distance travel in the short distance travel house. So it's almost like perhaps for some Aries during this year, if you're planning a long trip, maybe you go on a day trip instead. Or maybe it's a time of year where you want to go on a bunch of little day trips or little road trips that are, shorter. And Jupiter also is going to rule your 12th house of the subconscious mind, self-sabotage, of isolation. And it's in that third house. So it could be that there's some realizations you start having because of some conversations, or you start to be able to get some things off your chest that are fears, especially with Saturn going through that 12th house. Getting fears off your chest or writing them down, putting pen to paper, voicing some spiritual truths or spiritual realizations, or even like for some Aries who are super into like spirituality, maybe you're creating a system with Saturn in the 12th to help people talk to their spirit guides or do something else that relates to the subconscious mind, like hypnotherapy or Reiki, where it's like, okay, now I've got, Saturn's here, like making that area of life more solid and stable and predictable and like structured. So for some, it's like structuring your connection with the subconscious. How would you do that? Like creating a path to the Akashic records or something along those lines. Now, remember, it's also that ninth ruler in the third, and the ninth house can be more than just travel. It can be speaking a foreign language. It can be dealing with foreigners more. It can be dealing with things that are overseas, dealing with legal things, dealing with astrology, dealing with astrology, the law, publishing, especially for Aries out there who are interested in writing. There might be some focus on publishing, but for most of you, regardless, I'm going to say I definitely see focus here on learning, listening, speaking, chatting, talking to people. And it can also be your local neighborhood. For some Aries, if you have been overseas, this would be a time where you come back home. Or if you're not, there's a focus on your local neighborhood. So it's like going to the PTA meeting or going to the homeowners meeting, or having dinner parties with the people on your block or doing barbecues or something like that. Just focusing on enjoying life with your neighbors or with your roommates is also a possibility here. So that is what I've got for Aries, and we're going to go now to the sign of Taurus. All right, so for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, we have Jupiter hitting that second house of money, money, money. So Jupiter in the money house can be the obvious thing of more money. Okay, it can be more money. It could also be, though, you buy more stuff, right? Because Jupiter in the second, if someone has this in their natal chart, is kind of like, I believe I'm going to be okay with money, therefore I am. But Jupiter being in Gemini in the second is like, the thing about Gemini is it kind of scatters things in all directions. So I get this metaphor of like a pile of cash and the wind just blows it everywhere. This does not mean if you're a Taurus, you have to worry about your cash being blown everywhere, because if that's going to happen, it's going to be you blowing it most likely. So just like, don't blow all your money, Taurus. No, but seriously, because some of you, that's not even an issue. So what I feel for this is there is a potential for growth in your finances. But what we have to consider is what house Jupiter rules. So we have the 8th house of debt and other people's money coming into your second house. Some Tauruses during this year may take a loan of some kind. They may need to borrow money. That you might get money from something 8th house like, which would be like your partner gets a raise, and if they're the breadwinner, then you get more money from that. It's possible it could be like an inheritance, but it could also be other stuff like money from stocks or high risk investments coming to you, or just you got the loan you wanted, therefore you get it, right? You got the loan, now you get to go take the classes you wanted to take, or something like that. Now, the 8th house ruler in the second doesn't guarantee that for every single Taurus, but it is a strong indicator here. Other 8th house things are facing our fears and transformation. So this could also be you making more money because you're going beyond your comfort zone. And with Pluto hitting that 10th house, it's kind of like, it's like the universe is sort of calling you toward having more authenticity in your work. And Jupiter is trining that Pluto. So it's almost like at this time, at the end of May 25th on, Tauruses may find that they are being stretched, or there's some kind of opportunity that requires you to show up completely differently in your 10th house of work, but that allows you more money. So We'll have to see what that is for you. But with Jupiter-Venus conjunct here, I kind of like that. I kind of like that connection between, you and Jupiter. And then, but here's the thing, Jupiter expands you. Does that mean you're physically getting bigger? I mean, you know if that's a possibility. But your 6th house ruler is Venus as well. So you got 6th house planet with the 8th house planet, and Jupiter also rules the 11th house of gains, right? So I wouldn't promise that you're going to win the lottery, but the potential to receive more money at this time for Tauruses, I'm going to say, is quite high. Now, whether you do, whether you don't, that's to be said. But I would say there might be a strong focus for Tauruses at this time of like, how do I make more money? Some of you might be getting a second job so you can have that extra income. Others of you, who knows, could be getting a raise or promotion. It's quite hard to say these very specific things from a general reading, but I can definitely feel that there is lots of potential for growth in your career sector and the money that you make from the work you do. Those are the areas that I see really highlighted here when it comes to what Jupiter is doing. Now, this total change is probably more likely to happen closer to March because Pluto's there right now. They're going to be trining. And throughout the year, though, I think you're going to have more opportunities to step into a different role or change the way that you approach your career as of what you know it to be at this moment. Because Pluto is there saying, let's get authentic in our work. And so if you've been feeling, Taurus, like you've been like, my work is something needs to change, that's right on schedule. So that's kind of what I want you to know the most. That's right on schedule. And that 11th house planet is good, and meeting up with Venus does make me feel like there is the potential for more money, more stuff. Maybe a friend gives you a bunch of clothes or something at this time, something like that. Potential also for good, solid things to happen when it comes to your friendships. Maybe just making new friends or getting your friends together or something also could be happening at this time. So let's go on now to the next sign, which is going to be, and I need a drink of coffee. It's going to be Gemini. It's so good. All right. Geminis. Jupiter is entering the house of you, which means the growth is going to happen to you. Now, because Jupiter is in your 1st house, this means there's a potential to just take on more projects. Usually when Jupiter's in your 1st, it's a time of either moving somewhere new, buying a new place, learning new skills. There's just a feeling of newness, of going after new goals when Jupiter goes through your 1st. You also have Saturn in the 10th right now, which kind of confirms that it's probably going to be career related, because when Saturn's in your 10th, it is a time where you're asked more is asked of you when it comes to career, but it's good to say yes, because it's like the career fruit is the ripest it will be during this, for Saturn, 28-year cycle. So Jupiter's here. Jupiter will probably square this Saturn at some point. I didn't look at when during this year. Maybe I'll have to do a follow-up video to this one, because this is like Jupiter entering Gemini. Maybe we'll do another one that's Jupiter the whole year and go through each thing. Comment below if you want to see that. So Jupiter in the 1st will just make you grow, your life grow. You'll take on more projects. You more than any other sign, I would say, need to make sure you're only taking on so much, that you're not taking on stuff you don't want to do, that you are taking on things that are going to benefit your life, and that you're not doing a bazillion things at once. Although you might feel better when you're more active during this time, if you're having more conversation during this time. And it might just be a time of back and forth energy, a little bit more multitasking and more being busy. Also, Jupiter rules your 7th house. So 7th house ruler in the 1st This means your relationship planet is in the house of you. What does that mean? Sometimes it means relationships are highlighted. Sometimes it means relationships are contributing to your life, or they are influencing your life direction. So this could be you have some career stuff going on and you have a relationship that's really supporting that, or being unsupportive, right? It's influencing. So it could be you have job and relationship and you have to manage both. But Jupiter also being the planet that rules your 10th house and whole sign makes me feel like it's stronger career energy. Now, for those Geminis out there who are like stay-at-home mom, or you're in a relationship and for whatever reason you're not working in the workforce, like Saturn in the 10th can be your stay-at-home mom responsibilities. Whatever your role in life is, Saturn's asking more of it. If your role in life is like trophy wife, because some people are, then that role is going to require more of you. There's going to be more to be done for that. So just know that that 10th house is still active even if you don't have a job. But it's very strong, so it's all about what you're projecting, what appearance you're projecting into the world at the end of May. Like, what image do you have? Because 10th ruler in the first in a natal chart sometimes can be someone who like projects an image, or they are like a face of a brand, right? So it's like you're the face of your own brand. You're the face of your own life. And, you're the one being seen. So there's emphasis on this. There's emphasis on the appearance at this time. Now, Jupiter, the downside of Jupiter either going through the 1st or the 6th is sometimes there's a potential to gain weight. Now, just take that if it fits for you. Some of you are like, I want to gain weight. Or some of you are like, it's not an issue. Your weight always stays the same, whatever. But it is one of the like so-called bad sides of Jupiter in the 1st is the growth is not restricted. It's unrestrained growth. So again, I think that Gemini, more than any other sign, is going to have to work on or be concerned about not growing too far too fast, or not planting 27 trees that you can't water. Just plant like 3. I wouldn't say 1 with this energy. That's not going to be enough. But yeah, that's kind of what I see. And relationships are going to have an effect on your life direction at this time. And that might be the big deal. It might be the 10th house stuff is actually relationship stuff, because sometimes our relationship status is what we're known as. It is what we're known publicly for, is that we're so-and-so's boyfriend or so-and-so's wife or so-and-so's husband or whatever. So that's what I have for Gemini. And we're going to go on to the next sign, which is going to be Cancers. For Geminis, let me know in a comment if it makes sense and what lands for you. And we'll go on to our Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Risings. For Cancers, we have Jupiter in the 12th house, bringing growth to your subconscious mind and your spirit guides and your psychological healing and your connection to the divine. And if you are a Cancer who wants to be a psychologist or a therapist or a drug and alcohol counselor or a prison guard or work in a hospital or any kind of institution where people are isolated, or do any kind of work like spiritual work that's isolating, like going to an ashram or going to a temple stay or something, Jupiter in the 12th can facilitate those kind of things. If you want to go on a retreat to Sedona or somewhere else where you're going for your own personal growth, then Jupiter in the 12th can be that, right? It can be you praying more, you meditating more, you spending more time, talking to your spirit guides or studying quietly or in isolation. But that's not always bad. Let's say you're a Cancer who wants to write a book. This might be the time that you get your booty over to you shut yourself up in your house and you don't do anything else but write, or something like that. Now, this doesn't have to mean you are isolated during this time. There's going to be other stuff going on in your life, but it's almost like there's more potential to have growth related to 12th house stuff. So we're talking like recovery from anything. We're talking like, the thing is, Jupiter in the 12th, sometimes you don't see it unless you look, right? So like, if you are in a situation where you almost die but you live, it's like, or you're in an accident and you live, or something like that, that's that Jupiter in the 12th, where it's like you have a spirit guide watching out for you. But if you don't look for that, you might not see it. You might just say, I was in an accident. Now, Jupiter rules your 9th house of God, the meaning of life, long-term travel, and higher education. It also rules your 6th house of work. So one possible thing is during this year, some Cancers might be working behind the scenes more. And it might just be that. Now, that working behind the scenes can be just doing anything where you're not doing it as publicly as you normally would. Or again, you're writing in the part-time after work or something like that. You can also be working with 12th house topics like spirituality, psychology, etc., recovery. And then the 9th house stuff, with Saturn in the 9th, sometimes you're making commitments to learn new things. And it could be that some Cancers out there are taking some courses and therefore you're just more isolated because you're spending more time studying. It could be spiritual stuff, super spiritual, because 9th house is like the house of God, okay? It's the house of our beliefs, our faith, what matters to us. And with Saturn here, sometimes it's you get a little bit more down about your life path and where you feel like you're heading. But at the same time, sometimes Saturn in the 9th will be when you're hunkering down and doing things to prepare yourself for your next career level. That is going to happen when Saturn naturally goes into Aries. So you could be preparing for a next level of career success. You could be studying something. You could be, again, doing things that are behind the scenes. Jupiter and Gemini in the 12th is good for spiritual work. It's good for rituals and spells if you want to do all that stuff. Because it's like more good can come from 12th house stuff, which is like figuring out your subconscious stuff with everything. Now, Pluto in the 8th trining it makes me feel like those Cancers who want to develop psychic abilities or who want to recover from some kind of grief or loss or go see a medium or something to talk to someone who's passed on, this actually would be a good time for those activities if that's something that interests you. If it's not, don't worry about it. But it does feel like with Jupiter trining Pluto in the 8th, there's more potential to have something good happen as a result of some kind of loss. I'm not predicting a loss will happen at this time, but I do think that this could refer to past losses. It could refer to psychological challenges, fears coming up, Pluto in the 8th. Facing your fears is highlighted with Jupiter in the 12th and Pluto in the 8th. This is like psychological healing. So there's lots of potential for Cancers to have, because, Jupiter is in such a private place, to have growth that is maybe not obvious, but like you're overcoming a fear. You're no longer afraid of heights. You're no longer afraid of speaking publicly. You're no longer afraid of flying, or you're no longer afraid of something, right? By being willing to look at those sort of things in the subconscious, but it feels like you can do that without, it doesn't feel like it's going to take a crisis to lead you to that based on these planets. So that's what I have for Cancers, and let me know if that resonated, and let's check out the next one, which is Leo. All right, for Leos, we've got, what do we got? We've got Jupiter in the 11th house of windfalls and financial gains, so we like that. The 11th house represents money. It's the second from the 10th, so it is a money house. It also represents friends and hopes and dreams. Some Leos just may be getting more social at this time, especially related to a loss or a change to a relationship. Because Pluto in that 7th house, it did enter the 7th house in March of 2023. So some Leos may have had relationship stuff really come up strong at that time when Pluto entered there. Pluto's going to go back and come back in again. So it might feel like even if you've had a breakup recently, some Leos out there, it might feel like it's not fully done yet or you're not fully recovered. That's okay. But it feels like Jupiter here might either bring you a new relationship, a new layer of healing from old relationships or past hurts, or just more friends, and somehow that connects to maybe more new friends or more acquaintances that could potentially turn into long-term friends that are like your best friend type of thing. I wouldn't guarantee you'll make a best friend this week on the 25th or something. But if you're like, I need new friends, go out there and get social on the last week of May. I keep wanting to say March. And Jupiter rules your 8th house of sex, death, and other people's money, and it's going into your 11th house. So what could that mean? I think of it more as like like facing fears helps you connect with friends, or it's almost like some Leos might be, I don't think of Leos as being antisocial, but maybe some of you are. Maybe some of you have been in hermit mode, and you're taking yourself beyond a fear, you're taking yourself beyond some kind of fear. Like, and with Jupiter and Gemini, it gives me Toastmaster vibes, where it's like you might just be going out to talk to more people. You might be facing the fear of speaking publicly. You might be facing the fear of showing up on social media, facing the fear of publishing something you've already written, especially with Mars in that 9th house right now, conjunct the North Node of like, how do I get this book published or something like that? Or publishing something you've already done that's creative, right? Because Jupiter, I just put this together. Jupiter rules your 5th house of some kind of personal creation. This could be if you have kids, a kid starts being, getting in their school musical or doing ballet or something, or whatever your kid does, right? Just fill that in with whatever your kid does. And they're seen publicly doing something that's like, a creative thing. It could also be if you don't have kids, or if that's not your kids right now, your own creative passion or hobby, or your own sort of creative thing you do for fun or pleasure, that's like your own work being seen by the masses or bringing it to the public, right? So again, if you wrote a book, you could be publishing it. If you made some art, you could be showing it off. If you've been taking pictures of yourself for your social media, maybe you're putting a lot of posts on, Instagram or Twitter or something. I mean, that doesn't even make sense, but whatever you're creating or working on, that's like a labor of love or a passion project. It's like, this might be a time where Leos are putting it out there and making it more public. It's like putting it out to the masses in some way. Now, if that doesn't really apply to you, this could also be you expressing yourself more freely around whatever people you are around. Let's say you're a manager, maybe you are finding your voice, or you're being heard by more people, or you need to talk to the group more often, and doing something that requires some of those leadership skills and doing it in a group setting to many people, or like literally standing up in front of people with a microphone. That's kind of what I get for this. So overall for Leos, we're seeing growth in friends, growth in connections with networking. If you want to grow a business, this is a great time to do podcasts and connect with other people. I also see more fun. The 11th house is one of the best houses. So take advantage of that Jupiter in the 11th, because it's like, it's growth, it's money, it's being more public, having more, it's your hopes and dreams. So really going after your hopes and dreams a little bit more, putting more energy into that area of life now. And that might be because something needed to change in relationships first. So that's what I have for Leos. Let me know in a comment if it resonates, and we're going to go on to the next sign, which is Virgos. For Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, What we have here is we have Jupiter going through your 10th house of career and work. So I like the 10th house honestly better than the 6th house because when Jupiter's in the 10th, you get more recognition. The 10th house is, not just the work we do, but it's it's what we are known for. So this does not mean every Virgo rising will be famous on the 26th of May. But if you are trying to get more visibility in your work, if you want to be recognized for what you do, Jupiter here could deliver. Now, what are you getting recognized for, Virgo? With Pluto in the 6th house changing your work and your routine since March of 2023, it might be worthwhile to consider if something was changing with your work schedule around that time or your health or something. But let's just stick with work since we have the 10th house activated here. What changed in your work back in 2023 that you could possibly be recognized for now, or you could have some growth around this now? So it's almost like maybe nothing changed back then, but what could be changing? It's almost like at your job you get more work to do, but then everyone is appreciative because you're fulfilling the role. It could be if you have a business, you're getting more publicity, you're getting seen more, especially considering the fact that Gemini scatters, right? So this is another one where if you want to get publicity, great time to start going on podcasts and stuff, because it's like the potential to be everywhere at once. The potential to go in all directions at once is very high with Gemini energy because of the directionality of Gemini is all directions. So if you want to scatter, even if you're like a celebrity, you want to make get a tabloid to talk about you just so that you get the publicity, this is a good time for it, really. Let me think what else. Jupiter rules your 7th house, so it's possible some Virgos might have a partner whose work becomes more public at this time. Or if you're single, I wouldn't predict this as you meet someone who is Gemini-like, but maybe you meet someone who even is like a long-term friend or a possible significant other who influences your career in some way. It's almost like someone is your biggest fan and they're a cheerleader and they help you. Relationships can affect your reputation at this time. Relationships can, and I hate to say this, but sometimes Gemini can be talking shit. So it's not like this is an example of how it may or may not be positive what Jupiter does. Who are these people talking about you and what are they saying? Are they saying good things? Or are they saying bad things? It could be both. You could actually get good or bad impacts to your reputation at this time, but your reputation, your name might grow. So hopefully you're around good people so that growth is good growth. And then we have Pluto here. Yeah, again, the Pluto-Jupiter trine for you guys really makes me feel like something is really changing the way that you work. And it might be that you have so much more required of you in your job that something has to give. You have to change your systems. You have to get some systems in place to handle the growth that you're having. That's a possibility. I like that possibility. I think that's a good one. I'm also noticing here at the end of March or May, I keep saying March, the end of May, Jupiter, Venus are conjunct. And so it's like Venus is your money planet. Jupiter is in the 10th house. So you might really be making some money right now, Virgo, or having some more focus on how to at least make your money, or having a boss tell you what you can do to get a raise, something like that. So it might simply be more work makes more money, but having your money planet in the 10th house kind of makes your money more visible as well. So I don't know if that's because you're making money from things people are recognizing or something like that. Now, Jupiter also rules your 4th house of home. So the planet of home in the house of work, what does it mean? Well, I mean, you might think, oh, working from home. It's not quite like that. It's almost like you need your home to be what it is so that you can work. Does that make sense? Like, if you're working from home, you need the office to be set up. If you were having your own business, you need the business to have the office set up. It's like, maybe you get it's almost like if you, let's just hypothetically say you're a Virgo rising and you have a YouTube channel. This would be you maybe getting a set for where you do your videos, right? So it's like your home base, your foundation is going to support or not support your career. So I would say make sure that your family isn't messing stuff up. Make sure that your home life and your bedroom and your place where you lay your head is all solid. If it's not, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it because it will affect your reputation in some way, and that might be because it becomes more public somehow. Like, I don't know how your home is going to be more public. Some of you, if you want to list a home or a property, this would be it. But others of you, it might just be you being more vulnerable publicly too, and your emotions or how you feel or your family stuff might become more public at this time. So that's what I have for Virgos, and let me know which one of these resonate for you, and let's move on to the next sign, which is Libra. For Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising, we have Jupiter in the 9th house, where it's all about learning and exploring and traveling and the meaning of life. It's also publishing. So think of which of those topics or the law, which topics are more likely to apply to your life right now. And those areas are likely to grow. So I would not be surprised if some Libras out there are taking more classes, learning new things, considering going back to school. If some of you Libras are maybe considering a trip overseas, going on a vacation, what else could it be? Or just putting a lot of time and energy into your thoughts and your belief systems, because the 9th house is what we believe, and sometimes the 9th house transits, although I think Jupiter is a little bit nicer for this, sometimes 9th house transits aren't actually easy, because we don't usually think about our beliefs unless something is wrong. And so sometimes where 9th house transits happen, why are we thinking about our beliefs? Because we're having a down moment where we're questioning it. Oftentimes that's what it is. And then you turn back to God or your higher power or spirit or the universe or whatever you believe in to kind of get renewed faith. Jupiter in the 9th is the time where you can have renewed faith. If you have planets here, when Jupiter hits that planet, it will be like probably you learn something new that's like, it's not just in your head, it's like in your heart, something that really hits your heart. You come to a new understanding of what's meaningful in life. And sometimes that's through difficult things. Now, Jupiter rules your 6th house of work. So 6th house ruler in the 9th is nice because it could be that you're working on something that's like, it's almost like a sacrificial energy here, because you got Saturn and Pisces here in the 6th, where usually that's the time where we have to work a little bit harder. We don't always get more out of it, but we have to work a little bit harder usually. And then we have Jupiter here in the 9th, bringing work into maybe working abroad, working online, working remotely. But it could also be bringing work into a teaching level, right? Because the 9th house is like teaching. Some of you might start teaching at this time. Others, it might be bringing the work that you do into a more meaningful expression. And so I like this for you for that. And it could also be like the work you do now is investing into this year what you hope to get out of it next year. When Jupiter hits Cancer, that'll be your 10th house. So even if you're like, oh, when's my career going to grow? You've got a good year of prep almost it doesn't mean it can't be growing now, but a year of like prepping or learning or getting ready for that, like coming into that like higher expression of being busy in your work. It's like you could be gaining skills now that you're going to be busy using a year from now. Now that's all going to depend on, what season of life you're in. Some of you might just have more, I wouldn't say you have more time, are able to think about the universe and spirituality a little bit more. Maybe it just takes more of a front seat in your life at this time. Now, Jupiter rules your third house of communication, communicating, speaking, and listening, and it's in the ninth house of what you know. So it's almost like, let me think about what this would mean. Your current learning is going to take on a much deeper level. It's almost like if you've already studied think about college and how the 100 level and 200 level are like the easy so-called courses, but then you get into the 300 and 400, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Some of you might be doing some deeper study into a topic that maybe you already have the basic understanding of, and now you're just really diving deep into the next level of knowledge. That could be around anything. It could be around how to do a good podcast, right? It could be any kind of knowledge that you want to know, but you're going deeper into that knowledge. Let me think what else. Third house is also siblings. So one of your siblings could find God or get spiritual or get religious or go on a trip or something. Although I know that's not as interesting for everyone usually. Let me think what else for Libra. There's got to be some other, I feel like there's a lot of good here. Oh, you know what it is? It's Pluto in the fifth trining Jupiter. So Jupiter trining Pluto, I should say. Now, this will happen not exactly on this day, but I mean, it pretty much is the trine. 0 to 1 is definitely within orb. So as soon as Jupiter enters Gemini, we've got it activating this trine to Pluto in the fifth, which is since March of 2023, really bringing forth a need to be more authentic in your relationships and how you enjoy yourself and what pleasure is, really changing what pleasure is for you. And Jupiter trining that might bring some connection to your spiritual life and your ability to enjoy life or have fun. It could also be your creativity is more connected to your spiritual path or your spiritual purpose, or that when you are expressing yourself authentically, like in a fun way, like how you dress or how you talk or something, just the way you're being might also contribute to a deeper felt sense of belonging or of being on the right path. You might be focusing on developing some kind of creative passion or even your own business. And that when doing that, it makes you feel more aligned. So there's a lot of potential for Libras at this time to have alignment in their business or business plan or expression of creativity at this time. So that looks nice for you guys. Let me know, Libras, how that resonates. I always love hearing from you. And I do see some comments. I'll check on those at the end. So feel free to keep them coming. And let's go on now to our next sign, which is going to be our Scorpios. I'm going to have some more coffee first. All right. Scorpios. Scorpios have Jupiter in the 8th house of transformation, intimacy, other people's money, risky investments, merging with other people on a deeper level. So Jupiter here is going to probably bring up whatever trust issues you got for healing. That's really a thing. It also, one of the 8th house gifts for people who have 8th house planets is this ability to connect so deeply with others and to see people's souls. This is not talked about enough. The 8th house, people with strong 8th houses can match souls with people. Like, they're the kind of people that you can't hide anything from. They're the kind of people who they just meet you and they know you so deeply. And I would say in general, they have this openness and they have this sort of ability to just, yeah, like see your soul. That doesn't mean every eighth house person is going to do good things with that information. That's going to depend on the personality. But with Jupiter in the eighth, there's an expansion of this kind of thing, of the deeper connection with people, of having more, maybe relationships you already have become more trusted. Having people around you, maybe sometimes it's like eighth house stuff is like people are with you when you're going through stuff, or you're with them. And having Jupiter trining this Pluto in the fourth makes me wonder, for Scorpios who've had any kind of loss in the family recently, Jupiter might help heal from that. You know, Jupiter might help heal from anything in childhood that like wasn't right, you know, or like, because the fourth house is like our emotional foundation, and Pluto coming into this house will really, you know, this is going to be like 20 years, right? From when Pluto enters to where it leaves. So for the next 20 years, Pluto's going to really, for Scorpios, really bring this emphasis of almost like emotional healing. But the catch is, you just had Saturn there when it was in Aquarius. So it's like showing you all the problems already in that area if they were there. Now, for some, this might be with your home as well, Scorpios. And that's going to be like seeing how the foundation of the home is not stable, or seeing how your plan when it comes to real estate needs work or needs to be adjusted. So Pluto trining Jupiter trining Pluto is going to facilitate that stuff in being seen, but it's almost like you can see it. It's almost like, I think of Mary Poppins, the spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. I feel so old. Comment if you remember this. But it's like, what's the medicine, Scorpio? What are you releasing in your family dynamics, or your way of handling your emotions? What's changing? What needs to change? What's been tugging at you to change since last March of 2023? That might be what Jupiter is helping heal, and it's probably through other people. So other people might have a lot of wisdom for you at this time. Now, what else can Jupiter do here besides just heal? Well, it rules your fifth house of creativity, self-employment. So for those who have your own business or starting one, it could be joining forces with someone else and building, like fortifying your own business by joining forces with others. It's not a guarantee that's what you should do. This is not advice. But it's also your money planet in that eighth house. Some Scorpios are just going to pay off debt this year, and Jupiter's going to help it grow, right? Some of you are going to invest your money into places for the purpose of having it grow. Like I could see some Scorpios investing a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. And like you get little dividends from each little investment because it's in Gemini. So it feels like it's more likely going to be a bunch of different things. This does not mean I'm giving you advice to do this. This is just one way that might show up. Now, second ruler in the eighth with Jupiter here, the worst case scenario, if you're getting a divorce during this time, Scorpio, you might have to pay out. It might be you losing your money to the other person because it's your money becomes their money. Now, there might be situations where that's appropriate and it doesn't feel like such a loss, right? Like I could see some Scorpios during this year at some point having to pay for like something related to your parents and your money becoming their money. Like you're helping them buy a house. Maybe that would be more of a celebratory experience. I helped my parents, that kind of thing. But either way, Jupiter's going to bring that energy to that eighth house and grow it and make it more focused on. So other positive ways that eighth house can show up is going to be facing your fears and doing that on purpose, doing that intentionally and consciously doing things that help you expand and feel like you're a bigger, better version, not physically bigger, but like hopefully bigger, like you can handle more is what I mean by being a bigger version of you. The big, be the bigger person. People say that. Yeah. So like, it's very psychological. I'm trying to give you guys something more interesting, but this is all I'm getting here. Fifth house ruler, creativity. Maybe, I could see maybe for some people, it's like you're writing a song with someone or you're doing some creative project with someone where the money's intermixed. And those type of activities either get a boost or you're focusing on them more during this time as well. So we're going to stop there for Scorpios. Let me know in a comment what made sense, what resonated. I love hearing from you. And we are going to go to the next sign, which is going to be our Sagittariuses. For Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, we have Jupiter going into your 7th house of relationships. If you're single, this is a great time to honestly meet someone around the end of May because Jupiter's with Venus, and it's like all happy, the sun's there. In traditional astrology, planets being by the sun aren't good. So if you find that at the end of May, you're like, man, nothing's happening in my relationship, we're going to just see, let's see, actually, I'll just look at what happens as the sun moves past those. I would say within, I want to go back now. Definitely by the 16th of June, the sun is far enough from Jupiter that it's no longer under the beams. So that's one thing to know. That's actually for everyone, but I'm just telling Sagittarius is for some reason. So when Jupiter goes into Gemini on the 25th, you're not like, I didn't find love that day. Just give it a month before the sun gets out of there. It gets away from Jupiter, can now be fully Jupiter without the sun kind of burning it out, so to speak, which would be just dissolving the good luck that would have come from it. Now, when Jupiter's in your 7th house, you're going to be happier if you're working with others. So this is a really good time to see like who you can meet, who you can make friends with, how your life can be better doing things together that you would be doing by yourself. Jupiter is also you, Sagittarius. So it's like you are with other people during this transit. So if you felt more isolated lately, or you've been needing to get out or not, this might be a great time to make some friends, to work with other people, to connect with people. Now, for some of you, it'll just be something natural that you don't have control over. Like at your work, you're doing more collaborative things. Therefore, there's just more people involved. But it could also be you consciously directing your energy toward partnership type activities. And you might feel like you have more people to hang out with than you have time in the day to hang out with them. You might just put a lot of focus on your relationships with other people. Now with Pluto in that 3rd house, Jupiter's going to trine that Pluto. It's possible one of those other people is a sibling because the siblings rule your 3rd house. Now this could be a challenge with a sibling, or a sibling has some kind of transformational experience. Usually those aren't fun. So if you have brothers or sisters, maybe watch them around this time, especially around the end of May. Make sure they're okay, because Pluto usually digs up things that are unpleasant, and Jupiter's going to expand it. It's almost like, I don't know, like some family secret gets out about a sibling, a cousin or aunt or uncle, and then Jupiter just scatters that. Like it's just the whole town knows about it. The whole world knows about it. Okay, so I don't want that to be what it is for you. I want it to be one of your siblings gets sober or something positive if you have siblings, and then everyone learns about that. Hopefully it's something good. But I wouldn't be surprised for Sages if sibling stuff ends up being a thing around the end of the month. If you don't have siblings, Pluto in the third could be your local environment changes. Your roommates are changing. Your neighborhood, your neighbors change. You move or they move. You get new neighbors. But maybe you get new neighbors that you want to be friends with because Jupiter trining that makes it feel like it's positive. So there's a potential of like making new connections in your neighborhood. If you're looking for love, go for walks in your neighborhood, Sagittarius, because the potential at the end of May for that to actually create a connection could be positive. Now, Pluto in the third could also be weird, creepy shit being revealed about your neighbors or your siblings, like secrets about them coming out or something, or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin. I don't want that to be it, but it could also be something with your car going on because your transportation is the third house. Pluto is changing it. I don't know what Pluto is doing to it, but it's almost like there could be some conversation about fixing something on your car, or you realize it's leaking something that you didn't know. You know, it's like Pluto has the energy of realizing something or unearthing something that wasn't obvious before. What else? I think there's more here, so I want to keep going. Okay. Jupiter rules your fourth house of home and your emotional foundation. And that planet being in the seventh house means home, and whether that home is really where your heart is or not is going to be more of a factor. If you buy and sell real estate or something, it can be that is just you're buying and selling things with other people. But the topic of your home, your local environment, and how you're relating to others is going to be stronger at this time. I'm hoping that it's more of a positive thing where you're just having more barbecues or something this summer, but it's like home. I don't know, maybe some Sagittariuses are like, I'm going to go get a roommate and we're going to go on this lease together. It's something like that where the topic of home and partnerships with people blend together. So if you maybe meet someone this year, or you are in a relationship, maybe this will be the point where you move in together. That's a possibility. But it could also be like moving in with a friend, or moving because you are living too far away from your lover and you want to be closer to them. So all in all, though, very relationship focused, very other focused. And some of that other focus, I don't think I talked about, could also be networking and stuff as well as relationships. But with Mars in the fifth, man, end of May is like relationship and flirting and going after it time for you, Sagittarius. Okay, let's go to the next sign here, which is going to be our Capricorns. Let me know, Sagittarius, if you guys want to, if that related to you. I was distracted by the comment I just saw, which is me, not you guys. Yeah, Carolyn's saying you would like a video about Jupiter through the year. Let me know, everyone else. Do you guys want a video that goes through Jupiter and Gemini, but we go through the different points of the year of like what happens with Jupiter and Gemini in December, or in, next February, etc. We could do that. All right, so going on now to our Capricorns for around the end of May 25th, when Jupiter enters Gemini. For you guys, this is in your sixth house. So as much as I love Jupiter, this isn't my favorite one, okay? This isn't my favorite one because Jupiter and Gemini will give you more work. Now, if you've been wanting more work and you've been needing more work and you need a side hustle, or you need a side job on top of your regular job or something like that, then the likelihood of this happening is much higher during this time. So yay for that. If you don't want more work, I think Jupiter in the sixth will just give it to you anyway. Sometimes that is in the form of overtime. Sometimes that is in the form of having more work to do at your actual job. Sometimes it's in the form of, especially in Gemini, doing something else on the side that takes your time and makes you busy and is an investment, but isn't going to pay off at the moment. I think when Jupiter was in my sixth house was when I made my original North Node videos on my YouTube channel. I got nothing for it at the time. They did not grow at the time. My channel did not grow. I got zero, anything, no clients, nothing from those. But now, years and years and years later, there's a benefit and there's a payoff. So the highest potential of Jupiter in the sixth would be a labor of love, or doing something you're devoted to, creating something that's of service to other people, and or creating something or sharpening skills that you may use later, like when Jupiter's in the 10th. So that's in 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 or 5 years. Closer to 4, like 4 years is when it starts. So if there's something you want to be well known for or doing in 4 years from now, then now might be a good time to start. But I wouldn't even look at it like that. I'd look at it more like, I'm going to sneeze. I am the loudest sneezer on the planet. Okay, back to Jupiter in that 6th house, Capricorns. Good for work, good for, now, sometimes you're doing something that you love to do that doesn't pay you, like taking care of a sick relative, or having families stay over. Now you have more dishes to do, or doing chores around the house that there's no payoff. That's like, stuff that is like just things you have to do, and you're busier and you're doing more. Downsides of Jupiter in the 6th is you can gain weight. You can overindulge, especially when Venus is here. And that just is a downside. I'm not saying, you have to consider whether that's a tendency for you or not, for that to even be an issue. But it might be a time, especially if you've been having a more strict diet, you might be more loose on the diet now. Maybe that's a natural thing that's more positive. Like, I couldn't eat sugar before, but now I'm able to because I did this and this and this. So it could be something like that. Now I'm noticing, Jupiter rules your 3rd house and your 12th house. So the 3rd house would be car, schedule, transportation, stuff like that. So Jupiter in the 6th might mean you have to run more errands, or you have more places to go, or, your car, I don't know, you have 2 cars now instead of 1, or you're sharing a car with someone that you weren't before, or you're giving someone else rides, something like that. Yeah, or just driving more, having more, more, it's almost like instead of going to the post office, now you have to go to the post office for this, and then now there's another place you have to go for the same activity. It kind of makes it feel like your to-do list gets split and doubled. Because like the sign of the twins, But then also Jupiter ruling that 12th house kind of does also feel, a lot of this feels like you're just busier this time. That can always be good. Like, being busy isn't usually bad. Usually it's because you got more life to live, and that's a good thing. But it feels like Jupiter ruling the 12th might bring spiritual practice into your daily life. If you were in hermit mode before, this might be a time where you're coming out of hermit mode, or you're choosing to do a project or a type of work or a type of thing that brings your spirituality into life. Let me give some examples. Reading coffee cups, reading tea leaves, reading any kind of readings, or like permaculture, like you believe in, conscious gardening or something. I'm just making shit up. And then you start having a conscious garden, or like stuff like that, where it's like you take things that you believe, things that have just been in the invisible realm, and you take them into the physical realm. You believe in giving to others, so now you're giving to others. You believe in helping the homeless, now you're helping the homeless. Whatever it is that you feel like is going to make the world better, it's like bringing the deeper, meaningful belief and connection to spirit guides into the experience. I think of I'm not even going to get the word right. When I think of 12th ruler in the 6th, what I think of is that sort of like that Japanese idea that like you put all your energy into a thing and you just like only focus on doing that thing really, really well, and like it's intentional. So that's kind of what I feel for Jupiter in the 6th. And then it's trines Pluto in the 2nd. So this makes me feel like more work equals more money for Capricorns. It makes me feel like you're changing the way you approach money, and that's going to affect what you have to do for your work. So some Capricorns, it might be a thing where it's like you realize you don't want to keep doing the work you've done. So now you start something on the side that you're hoping will grow into that, or something along those lines. So let me know, Capricorns, if that makes sense for you. Okay, and we're going to go now to the next sign, which is our Aquariuses. For Aquarius, we have, what do we have? We have Jupiter in that 5th house of fun. I love Jupiter in the fun house, Aquariuses, because it makes life more fun. This is great for dating. Aquariuses who want to date, seriously, May 25th, write it down. Because for this whole year, you could just be dating more. You could be having more fun. You could be going out more. You could be, if you do a creative project or hobby like singing or writing or calligraphy or whatever the heck you could possibly do, or golfing or anything, this would be a time where you could do more of that thing. And you just might have more fun in life. The 5th house is also where we birth things into being, right? So it's like, this is why kids, self-employment, and creative hobbies all go in the 5th house, because they're things that emanate from us that we like bring into the world. Really good for if you want to grow your business, really good time to grow your business. If you want to date, flirt, have sex, really good time for that. If you want to have a kid. Now, I don't like to predict that kind of stuff on general readings because we need to know some other things. But it's possible. It's possible you could have a kid. It's possible if you already have kids that this could bring growth to one of their lives. It could be a time in their life, in their development, where they have a growth spurt of some kind. Or it could be a time where you are focusing more on them, right? Like just your life focus is more like, how do I help my child at this time, no matter how old they are. What else? Pluto. Well, actually, before we do that, Jupiter rules the 2nd house and the 11th house. So Jupiter is a very strong money planet for Aquarius because the 2nd house is your money and your stuff. The 11th house is like windfalls. Now, do I think you're going to all get win the lottery? No. But when Jupiter goes through the 5th house or the 11th house, these are going to be transits that are more likely to activate positive abundance kind of moments. With Saturn in the 2nd, it may not be that simple. I don't think you're going to win the lottery. But it's possible you get some kind of payout or some kind of gain of some kind during this transit, especially because we have Jupiter trining Pluto, which just entered your first whole sign house. So Jupiter at 0 degrees of Gemini is really helping you change your identity, which is what Pluto is going to do. It's also helping you figure out what's special about yourself, which is what Pluto is going to do in that first house. It's going to help you be your more authentic self. Why? Through self-expression, dating who you want to date, having fun with who you want to have, having the kid you're going to have that's your creation, or having the business you want to have. It's all about you right now, Aquarius, and kind of manifesting what you want into your life. So this is a really, I really love this. I do think money is a little slowed down here. So having money be slowed down while Jupiter's in the 5th house, the only thing I would watch out for is if you have a tendency to like gamble, okay, and spend all your money gambling, you need to watch out right now, because it looks like, based on this chart, you don't have it. Whereas it looks like you don't have it to gamble with. Okay, so then let me see. Yeah, so there's that. Don't gamble, but also like just don't overspend on things like dating or like I don't know. It's just, you might want to watch out for like that, because it feels like Jupiter wants to spend in all directions at once when it's in Gemini. But Saturn says no. Saturn says we don't have it. So I don't know what that means for you in particular. It doesn't mean all Aquariuses are broke. It could just be that you're living with less during this time. Now, for some, it's because you had a baby, or it's because all your money's going to something, fifth house, all your money's tied up in your business right now, so you don't have excess. It could be something like that as well. Either way, this time for Aquarius is all about growth. Okay, this is a time about growth and really unrestrained growth, being able to date, being able to flirt. If you're already in a relationship, this is just enjoying it and bringing more fun to it. Going on dates with your significant other. It's game nights, it's doing crossword puzzles. It's whatever makes you happy and stimulates your mind and is enjoyable to you. So I really love this one for Aquarius. Let me know if it resonates. And we're going to move on to our next sign, which is our Pisces. Last but not least, we have beautiful Pisces. And for Pisces, actually, let me have some coffee first. But what we have for Pisces here is Jupiter in the fourth. Okay. Jupiter in the fourth house for Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising is going to be growth to your family, possibly. Now, because of the fourth house, that might be your family of origin. I don't think consider how old you are and consider how old your parents are and consider what this could mean. Now, maybe one of your parents remarries during this year. Maybe someone, what else could this be? I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. Unless you're super young watching this and like one of your parents could have another kid. But it could be growth to your home too, not just your family, right? It could be growth to your physical home, which could be like wanting to get a bigger home and having a focus beyond that. It could be wanting to move to somewhere and that growth being through like moving to where you wanted to move. The growth could be like, I don't know, you move to a bigger room in the same house, or you somehow create more spaciousness and more expansiveness in the home that you have, or you're enjoying more of the space to it, right? And with Jupiter, Venus, Sun, some of you might just be decorating a little bit and making your space a little bit more what you want it to be by adding a little bit of this and a little bit of that to make it a little bit more somewhere you can do a bunch of stuff in, right, with that Gemini energy. Now, Jupiter in the fourth could also be, the fourth house is like our emotional foundation. So Jupiter down here can be focusing on growth in the emotional sector rather than the, external sector, right? So it's like, how do you feel in your own skin? And how do you feel when you're by yourself? How do you feel when you get home and you shut the door and there's no one else there? How good is your emotional landscape, right? So Jupiter in the fourth could be you learning techniques or skills to literally feel better in your own skin. You could be learning how to regulate your nervous system. You could be journaling. You could be finding other tools. And with Gemini, it feels like it's a back and forth thing. You could be finding other tools to feel better. You could be talking about stuff that brings more hope and optimism to your life emotionally in terms of the feeling of you're okay. Because I think of the fourth house as what makes you feel okay. And some of us, we are a little messed up and we have Uranus there and it's like changing, moving every 5 minutes is what makes you feel okay. But it might also be bringing more conversation or focus on what kind of family life you want to have, what kind of family unit you do have or want to have. And it could bring growth to the family in the sense of if you're single during the year, you could possibly meet someone who's like a long-term partner, or you could decide to have a child. But I wouldn't necessarily predict having a baby from a general reading. It's not specific enough. But I do feel like lots and lots of focus for Pisces on the internal because Jupiter is trine Pluto in the 12th house, revealing psychological stuff that has not yet been dealt with. So it's like fears. Jupiter's helping you solve problems related to fears. So I like this because it's almost like you have the toolbox now. Jupiter's going to give you the toolbox to deal with some stuff that maybe has been there and just you haven't had the tools, so it hasn't been able to be unearthed. That could be a thing. Now, Jupiter rules you, so this means you might be at home more this year. You might be focusing more on home or where you're going to live or moving or something like that. You could be focusing more this year on redecorating or making your space how you want it to be. Jupiter also rules your 10th house of career. So when your career is in the 4th house, it kind of does mean that there's things going on behind the scenes. It could be like, let's say you're an English teacher during the 4th house Jupiter transit. Maybe you're doing more stuff this year to write your lesson plan. So you're working more privately, and then that is going to be public later, but it's like no one can see it yet, right? Doing work that's behind the scenes, that's not visible, that is private, writing a book or recording podcasts or, doing other things that no one's going to know you're doing, but you're working on it behind the scenes. This doesn't mean there's going to be bad things happening at your job or anything. In the sense that Jupiter in the 4th doesn't mean like, I just feel like someone's going to think this. It doesn't mean you stop working and you just go home. Usually. It usually means like you work and then there's your work has an element of privacy, usually is what it means. So you could still be doing the same thing you've been doing before, but now there's something that you're doing from home that no one else knows, or like you got a side job or something like that. But because Jupiter is you, again, it does feel like there's more focus. There could be more focus on family this year, and family and home is like, it's all about home. Now, with Saturn in the 1st and, Mars in the 2nd, you're working still. I don't think this is like you're on a vacation and you're just in the house. It feels like there's still that Saturn in the 1st is going to have an element of sacrificing something now for a long-term goal that is worth it. And Mars in the 2nd, even at the time of this, it won't be there all year, but it will be there at the end of May, which is what this broadcast is for. That's going to speed up your money. Sometimes it'll speed up your spending though, so you got to make sure you don't spend all your money. But maybe you needed to buy something and you're able to buy it. Maybe you buy something for your home that makes it look or feel beautiful, or you buy something that lets you work from home in a more aesthetically pleasing way, or something like that. Or maybe you buy something that just makes you able to functionally do something in your house that you couldn't do before. Or that it's also pretty, because it's like multi-purpose. With Venus here, Jupiter, it's like something that helps you communicate better or that is beautiful in your home. There's a real focus on this at the end of the month. But honestly, the sun's going to shine a spotlight here on this 4th house of like feeling good in your own skin. And, it might just be having some nice meditations where you reveal some things or you come up with some solutions for your fears with that Pluto on the 12th. And it's the fear of the unknown that we have. Pluto in the 12th can make you feel a little bit like, and this is since May of 2023, Pisces, you guys could be feeling a little bit like you are in some kind of void and you don't know what direction to go. Even if you are on a path, with this transit, you can start feeling like you don't know if it's the right path, or there's lack of clarity on what to actually do in the external world. And maybe Jupiter's helping you solve some of those challenges, of feeling like you're on the path. Just by doing the Gemini thing of being practical, of like, okay, if the path goes this way, here's what I'm going to do. If it goes that way, here's what I'm going to do. And if it goes that way, here's what I'm going to do. This is almost what I see you doing at the end of the month, being like, all right, let's face this stuff. Let's see what would be the worst case scenario. How would I handle it? And what would be the best case scenario? And is it worth it to take the risk of whatever you're sacrificing right now for whatever long-term thing you want to happen? So this is a kind of feeling I get going on here for the end of May for Pisces. But Jupiter in the fourth, again, can bring a lot of growth to almost like your emotional stability, your ability to, you know, either feel emotions consciously. Like, I think of like how monks do this, you know, I think of like the spiritual practice of cultivating emotions, cultivating awe, cultivating reverence, cultivating gratitude. Like, this is why it's a spiritual practice. You're practicing feeling these things, right? You're practicing consciously bringing it up. And it almost makes me wonder about that, if there's some kind of conscious effort being put toward that this year. And the thing is, wherever Jupiter is, you have more potential to grow. So by focusing on fourth house matters, Jupiter will make you feel better if your home is in order this year. It'll make you feel better if your emotions are in order this year. And it'll make you feel better. You have more potential to consciously direct your emotions. So that might just be a theme that you're focusing on. So that's what I have for Pisces for that. All right, so I am going to go ahead and check the comments next, but I do want to let you guys know about the announcements that I announced in the beginning, just in case you weren't here yet. One is that I'm available for private readings. You can click the link below to check that out. I will be doing a course. I'm going to be doing I haven't decided on the details yet, but it will be on the north node, the north and south nodes. So if you want to know more about the nodes without getting swept up into some of the modern nonsense out there of real practical, useful information on your north and south node and kind of what you can do with it, how to work with those placements the best way possible, I'm going to do a course. It's probably going to be 6 weeks. It's probably going to have some live videos, and I'm probably going to launch it soon. So if you want to know about it, just get on my email list. That's the best way, or watch the channel. But if you want to be the first to know, get on the email list, because that's where you're going to be the first to know everything. And there's a link in the description to join that. You can just sign up for the free guide to your Midheaven, and that'll take you, you'll get on it and you'll get the free guide. Okay, so those are the announcements I wanted to make. And now I'm going to check all these comments. I think I stopped about here. Carolyn was saying would enjoy a video about Jupiter through the year. Now it looks like some other people gave their other sort of insights. Big Money Cool wants another updated Libra North Node video. What is wrong? What's wrong with the last one? I mean, there's a recent video on the nodes, so if you haven't seen that one, you should check that one out. Francisca says, "But you're so genuine. Whatever you broadcast is important. Just the weekly video is cool too." I know a lot of you guys like the weeklies. I'm probably not going to keep doing them because they don't get enough views, and because I just don't feel like that's the direction I want to be going in. But I will still be doing transit updates for major events. Francisca says May 25th sounds like a blessing. Okay, Josh is saying Pisces Sun increasing my Qigong practice. That makes so much sense. And then Josh is asking or saying, yep, have been in the void for the past year or so. Let's see this one. Is the progress chart important, like the natal during transit? So like when transiting planets hit the progress chart, I don't really try to answer really deep technical questions like that on these. But for the progress chart, I like the moon the best. I think the moon is the best thing. Some people do read transits to progress planets. It's not something I super focus on. That's not because it's wrong, just not something I super focus on. Brit Cake says, Aquarius Sun here, everything feels like it's shifting into place. Well, and do you guys feel like like it's finally more of an Aries feeling. Because I know that, like, for me, when Aries season hits, usually I'm ready to go. I'm like ready to start something or launch something. And this one, I just felt like I was dragging through the mud. And it's finally feeling like spring to me now. I think just since Mars entered Aries, maybe that helped kind of really bring some of that energy. And when Aries season started, we still had a bunch of planets in Pisces. And Pisces is definitely, when it comes to, there's a direction of the elements. So for air and fire, they go up, and earth and water go down. So like air signs and fire signs, they want to bring you up. They want to stimulate you. They're going to have a masculine effect on you. And it's going to be like, go out and do stuff, Whereas the water and earth are going to be like grounding you, or like feeding you, or like asking you how you feel, and willing to go down to those places with you. And both of these energies are important. But when we have one sign or whatever that's going up, and we have a bunch of other stuff going down, sometimes, and that's what I mean by those planets that were in Pisces, that really kind of felt like they were keeping us sort of in our emotions, if that makes sense. And then Brick Cake says, finally, yes, I took that out at first. Everything feels like it's finally shifting into place. Yeah, I definitely can sense that there's a bit of a speeding up of the energy recently. And, it's just feeling more exciting, which is what I love about spring and Aries season, is that feeling of like, we're going to start fresh again. It's nice to get that. It's nice to get that feeling sometimes. Chrissy says, I was nonstop during Aries season. Now I feel more grounded. All right. That is great. Okay, everyone. Well, happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody. And make sure you book a reading with me if you want to book one. Make sure you get on my email list if you want to know about the upcoming course about the nodes. It's going to be fun. I think we're going to learn a lot about the North Node. And, as much as I love coming on lives and going in depth with you guys, I'm finding that sometimes that's a little too much. There's some stuff that like YouTube, it's too much for. Like when it comes to our lives, we don't really want to go too deep into things, because what happens is we lose people. And then it's like, it's not as fun for everyone when they can't follow, or when they haven't learned the thing that they would need to know to understand. So when it comes to the lives, we're always going to try to keep it at beginner level so that everyone can have fun here and get something out of it and connect with their astrology. But then when it comes to the stuff that's like, you have to put in some effort, and it takes some practice, or, it goes really deep, or you have to learn how to read your chart to be able to do it. That's going to be the stuff that we're going to do in courses and stuff. So at least that is my plan. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video. Bye guys.